If you're a professional speaker or leadership expert, you've probably had this experience. You search YouTube for a leadership topic that you speak about, and at the top of the results is Simon Sinek. The first thought you probably have is, I cannot compete with that. But here's the reality. Most of the leadership topics that Simon ranks for on YouTube are actually wide open opportunities for other voices like you with real expertise. As someone who has spent years speaking, teaching, and developing leadership frameworks, there is absolutely room for you at the top above Simon Sinek. In this video, I'm going to walk you through several examples where Simon Sinek currently ranks at the top of YouTube search, but instead of just looking at that ranking, we're going to analyze the actual competitive landscape behind the scenes. Once you see what's really happening in these search results, you'll realize something important. For experienced leadership experts, this space is far more accessible than it appears. Let's dive right in. So let's jump right over to YouTube and I'll show you what I mean. If you come to YouTube right here and you type in leadership style, you'll notice Simon Sinek ranking at the top, Brian Tracy ranking right below him. These are big names that you're going to see ranking all over the place in regards to leadership. Okay, so I did another one. I came here and I typed in leadership development, and lo and behold, Simon Sinek ranking right at the top. We've got people like Dave Ramsey, we've got Tony Robbins, there's Simon Sinek again. And so again, he is dominating leadership development. Let's do one more search. I came here and I typed in leadership program, and there's Simon Sinek again, another interview style or something on stage. There's Dave Ramsey again. If you scroll down, you see Simon Sinek. There's Jessica Kriegel. I'll share more about her in a minute. So it's totally understandable when you do different searches like this and you see Simon Sinek everywhere to just assume, I'm not going to be able to compete with that. Or I don't have a chance. Like, I'm a leadership expert. That's what I get paid for. I speak or I consult, but there's no way that I compete, so I shouldn't even try. Well, I think what I'm going to show you now will have you changing your mind. Check this out. Okay, so for that first search that I did, leadership style, I've done a competitive analysis. Now, these are 30 different questions that have consistent search volume every month on Google, YouTube, ChatGPT, Perplexity. And they're all very, very specific. So you can look at a lot of these. What leadership style involves engaging the team in decision making? And maybe these are too small on your screen to read it if you're watching it on your phone, but hopefully you can see the colors, okay? This column is Simon Sinek. Each of these columns are different competitors on YouTube. So Simon Sinek is the strongest one, but the green yeses represent top ranking on YouTube. And so for all of these specific questions about leadership style, Simon is only ranking for 3 of them. And then he does have some top 20 placement and some top 50 placement, but there's a lot where he doesn't rank at all. That's what these red no's are. So this shows that there's a huge opportunity here. In fact, you have an exact roadmap if you want to dominate the leadership style category. And now you know exactly where to start. And as you check off these different questions, these different topics on leadership style, eventually you'll outrank Simon Sinek even for that 2-word search. Now let's look at the leadership development one. Well, this one's a little bit more competitive. We have another 30 questions all around leadership development, and a top score would be 30 out of 30, right? So Simon Sinek's the second one here. He's got basically an 11.5 out of 30. And then this one that's a channel called Motivation Arc. You can see the yeses for each of them. A yes again means top ranking on YouTube, but you still see that there's a lot of opportunity. There's gaps where you could make a video answering that question and rank right above them immediately. It's very realistic for my clients to start at 0 and then move up to 5 to 10 to 15. We're talking about this score over here. And so once you get to a score of 15, you can even compete with the topics that Simon Sinek and this Motivation Arc are ranking for right now at the top. You can go after those at that point and you'll rank at the top. The higher your score is, the more momentum you have, and eventually you'll get to a point where you completely dominate that topic or that category. Now I'll come back to show you the third example, but let's take a little break here and look at a different type of spreadsheet. So this is for one of my clients, and instead of each column representing a different YouTube channel, this is all for one YouTube channel, but tracking the progress of the ranking over time. So we've got 34 different topics here around construction manager salary. This is something that's really important for my client, Jason Schroeder, who provides consulting to the construction industry. And you can see in July of 24, he started out with a rank of 3.5 out of 34. there's no yeses. All the startings just have a score of 0.25, and so if you add those up, that's 3.5. Well, you see by September, we jumped up to a score of 12. By November of 24, a score of 22, and then by Christmas Eve of 24, a score of 33 out of 34. We came back a year later and he was still completely dominated. Once you dominate a category, it's very hard for somebody to bump you down because you own that space. Let me just show you one more example. So this is for Reagan Archibald. He's a men's health and a peptides expert. And I guess there's a peptide called tesamorelin. And look at all these. So there are 45 different questions or topics that I've listed in this column. So back on April of 25, no yeses at all. He didn't have any videos ranking on YouTube for these topics. And you can see his filming dates, you can see his launch dates. So we started launching a few of these mid-May and into June. Well, as we get into late May and into June, you see, oh wow, we've got some yeses, we've got some traction. You can see he launched some more in August, September, and October. And so if you get into those months, 7, 22, 34, so obviously he's got a huge amount of traction there. Fast forward to the end of 25, he had a score of 40 out of 45. Okay, so let's go back to leadership, and here's the last competitor analysis. This is for leadership program, and here are 30 different questions people are consistently asking online about leadership programs, and you'll see Simon Sinek is actually ranking 3rd, Jessica Kriegel ranking 1 above that, and then this L&D Academy ranking above that, but they're all very, very similar, and they all haven't really covered a whole lot. Now, I want to tell you the story behind Jessica Kriegel. She's an awesome lady, and she was a client of mine, but not directly. She was a client of mine through her employer. So her employer hired me. Jessica was great. We did 1 day of filming, and then her employers decided they wanted to try a different strategy. Well, even though they went a different way, the videos that we filmed for them, or that I filmed with Jessica, they did super well. So this was several years ago, and yet the videos are still ranking at the top. So just 1 day of filming, and she's ranking above Simon Sinek. And if she were to keep going, like I showed you with Jason Schroeder or Reagan Archibald, we could keep turning all of these no's into yeses, and so that no matter where you searched for this topic on YouTube, Google, or ChatGPT, you'd be ranking above Simon Sinek. So if you're a speaker, author, or leadership expert, and you want to build real authority on YouTube, Google, and ChatGPT, all around your ideas, I'm hosting a live training where I walk you through the strategy in detail, step by step. It's called the LEAF strategy, and I'll break down the exact framework for turning your expertise into discoverable content that consistently reaches the right audiences. So this will be a webinar, and during the webinar, I'll also be doing a live Q&A, so you can bring your questions about your niche, your content, your positioning. You can register for the webinar at theleafstrategy.com. You don't need to be more famous than Simon Sinek to rank above him. If you're serious about dominating your topic, I'll see you there.